Hey, thanks for tuning in to the YouTube channel, the podcast, wherever you're finding us on iTunes, Spotify, etc. Excited to introduce to you Paul. Thank you, Kim, for introducing us. When we first met, I think you're a fascinating dude, and you have some really cool perspectives. Like someone who's really has done self-development and has really, I think there's a lot of things to talk about, and I think a lot of the listeners and the viewers will get a lot out of this conversation. But welcome, Paul.
Thanks. Hope I can contribute, maybe give something back to some of your viewers.
Yeah. Oh, and just some context. So Paul is an entrepreneur and he works in the financial sector and has had a lot of success in life. And I think as we grow, we become more, it sounds like self-actualized and maybe care a little bit less about what other people think. And I think it's refreshing when we're not like concerned, we're not being a people pleaser and we're able to just be ourselves and also obviously be contributing members to society as well, which
Yeah,
clearly you are.
I agree. I think especially with Asian culture, there's a very strong need to conform, right? I mean, um, I think parents sort of instill that on you to be very familial and support them and so that helps us in some ways, but it also hurts us in other ways, right? I mean, um, if you want to be, this independent, out of the mold type of person, you know, you're gonna have to work extra hard to get there.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's a lot of good values, obviously being Asian, like we respect our
Sure.
elders, like we have good work ethic, like we're ambitious, like we're future focused, right? And then there's a lot of other things that, you
Like
know,
I remember my parents would say like, don't get into fights, like
yeah.
just don't want, very basic stuff, and like that has like a very strong ripple effect, later on in life. Like when can you get in fights? When is it okay to push back?
Mm.
When is it okay to disagree? To stand out and like, be aggressive versus not aggressive.
Mm.
You can't succeed in life by being a wallflower.
Mm. That's a good point. Yeah, like asserting ourselves, I feel like with Asians it can be tough, right? Especially
Yeah,
challenging the status quo. I think.
yeah, for sure. And I see it a lot, even professionally, right? Like if I'm in a room full of CEOs, I'm generally the youngest one. I'm generally the only Asian. I'm generally, um, so there's definitely, some expectations that they have on me just because I'm Asian. And, um, sometimes it actually helps me, believe it or not,
Hmm.
because, you know, when people have stereotypes of you and then you really don't fit into that, it almost gives you like an edge, right? It's
Huh.
almost like a superpower, because then they're like, oh shoot, I have to rethink everything about this guy because I don't know
Ah,
anything about him. You
huh.
know,
That's
like
so
people don't,
interesting.
expect, Asians to like ride a motorcycle. People don't expect Asians to, you know, date like non-Asians,
Yeah.
or to speak perfect English, or to be into golf, or whatever it is. Like they have so many different stereotypes, and when you break that mold, um, they really don't know what box to put you in, which can be
Huh.
an advantage.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like playing poker. Like, let's say they judge, they think, oh, like this person can't bluff, but then you're this wild card, and they're like, whoa, actually, I
Yeah.
maybe I may have underestimated
Well,
this
poker is
person.
probably not the best example because the Asians are known for being wild cards.
Right, but you know how sometimes people underestimate women, for instance, in poker,
Yeah.
and then they end up letting their guard down, and they end up before they know it, they're like, "Wow, I just been swindled," right? In a way.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah,
But
not the
like,
best example.
there are like, even in dating, right? Like, um so many, I don't know why, but like there's like this um, constant negging of Asian guys, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's about their sexuality, whether it's about their penis size, whether it's about, whatever it is. It's like it's in popular culture. It's in
Mhm.
so many situations, and even if they're like you know interracially dating, so many people will tell like the person that's non-Asian, why are you dating that Asian guy? Like it's a bad thing, you know,
Mhm.
and you know, and it has like these subtle influences because they don't. Nobody wants to be like the black sheep of their family, their friends, or
Mm.
whatever. So those kind of things they have like pretty significant impacts,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, even thinking back to my childhood, like I've dated a ton of white girls, right? But I was always very insecure when it came to like more of like the physical aspects of things, because I would be like, I'd be like, oh, like there's gonna be, I don't know, like I was just very insecure about that, and it was actually
Yeah,
like,
it's common. I mean, and it's natural, right? Because you're still discovering yourself. How are you going to get confidence, when you're starting out? Like
yeah.
that's something that comes with experience and time. Really, I really
Yeah.
don't think like men in general reach their sort of prime until like they're in their 30s, like mid 30s even or
Uh,
later. You know, it's kind of like we're very very late bloomers, right? Because we put like so much effort into improving ourselves, right?
mm,
We're like the hard working at school, at work, or whatever, and you know we don't really reap the benefits of that until like later in life, you
hmm,
know. But like later in life, when you have all that stuff, it's like the world is your oyster. Like you can
huh,
do anything, like
yeah,
it's like all these women that you never thought you could date. You're like, oh, I can date these women.
huh. That's interesting.
But you have to find, women that are open to dating Asian men to begin with, right?
Uh,
Because there's a whole subset of women that just won't even consider it, no matter what, right? So you just,
yeah.
those women are not up for grabs, but there's still plenty that are. You just have to find them.
That's an interesting theory. So you're saying because we work so hard because we need to like almost overcompensate for societal expectations of men being, or
Yeah,
Asian men being like more not as
we do.
assertive.
I mean, we have to be better at everything. Like
Yeah,
we have to
yeah.
dress better. We have to work out harder. We have to be
Huh.
professionally like to get the same things. And that's just the way it is in America as an Asian. I don't think
Hmm.
that that's going to change anytime soon. Like I will
Wow.
teach my son, you got to be the hardest working person. You got to have the, you got to know and plan your life as if like no one's going to hand you anything because chances are they won't.
Hmm.
And if they do, it's great. Take advantage of whatever opportunities you can, but you know, you just can't assume that it's going to be an easy ride because it almost never
Hmm.
is.
That's a good point. I do find myself in the corporate setting, often being the hardest working person on my team most of the time, like you
Yeah,
said.
that's always been the case for me.
Yeah. Huh. But I also like what you said.
Although lately I've kind of chilled out a little bit.
Yeah, because you've already
You reach a
reached.
certain level where you can let go of the gas pedal, and then you realize all of the stuff that you're missing. You know, like I have kids now, and I want to spend time with my family. You know, to me that's more important than pushing ahead in like a career track or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, I've just turned 34 like 5 days ago, and you're right. I do feel like I can kind of slow down a little bit more now. Like it I think this is the
But your
first time.
20s is like the age when you need to like push hard on the gas,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think someone told me once that uh, where you end up at 30 is probably where you'll end up for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
That it's sort of a like a marker where like you'll do incrementally better, but it's not going to necessarily be like a massive jump. Of
Huh.
course, there's exceptions, but I kind of believe that.
because it's the foundation is
It's the
like,
foundation, right?
yeah.
It's if you haven't gotten there in 10 years, um, there's probably something that, you're missing, whatever it is.
Huh. Interesting. That's an interesting theory. I could see that because it's like by then the habits are pretty much like
Right.
a stat.
But,
Yeah.
but most importantly, that's between 20 and 30 is when you have the most time to do professional development. Once you hit later years, you start to, have other burdens in life, right? Like families or kids or whatever. And the
Yeah.
amount of time that you can dedicate to even dating, like serious dating, takes like a lot of time,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, how much are you going to be able to invest in yourself at 35, 40, 45? Everyone's different, obviously, but like it's not nearly as much as when you do between
Huh.
20 and 30.
That's a good point. You're right. Like in at LinkedIn, I was on a team with a lot of 20s-year-olds and they outworked everyone. Like they just were just
They're
workhorse.
hungry, right?
Yeah,
They're
they're
hungry
so
for like
hungry.
getting the experience, getting the knowledge, getting, and and you know, by the time you're in your 30s, you've already got a lot of that, right? You've got
Yeah.
the experience under your belt, you've got the skill set, you've got so then it just becomes a matter of working smarter instead of harder.
Yeah. I I wish I knew that earlier. I think when I was younger, it was all about working harder. And I wish I was able to work smarter and harder at the same time, you know?
Yeah, I know, me too. I've made some mistakes, you know. I think we all do, right?
Yeah.
Um, one of the best things I did was getting a peer group of successful people, right? And that really, um, that gave me some insight for the first time and mentorship from people that actually knew what they were doing.
Mm.
Um, because growing up, I didn't have any of that, right? Like I had to figure everything out on my own,
Mm.
and it makes a big difference between success and failure. Like
Yeah.
it literally is probably the difference.
How did you find that peer group?
I mean, there are groups out there. You just have to pay for it. You have to have a certain amount of money. All of these groups that basically you need to have a certain level of success already, and then you need to be willing to pay whatever barriers they put up to keep out like normal people, right?
Huh. So it sounds like these peer groups are worth it though, right? Because like you said, you just
I mean, it
learn.
depends on how much you take away from. Everyone takes away different amounts depending on how good your listening is, I guess, right? Because I've done a lot of, like, I was hungry for knowledge, right? I was hungry for learning, developing myself, because when I was 20, I felt like I didn't know shit. you know, I didn't know anything, about anything, and I knew I didn't know anything. Um, so I did. I anyone that would teach me that had something to teach, I would, soak it up, and I would read personal development books. I would, but you get a lot more from experts, right? I mean,
Mm.
books can only take you so far.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I did. Um, Landmark. I did learning as leadership programs. I did stuff with Tony Robbins. I did, um, Vistage. Like I even like learned a ton from church.
Oh yeah.
I was
Huh.
part of like a super crazy evangelical church. And I'm not the most religious person, but those leaders there, they're really freaking good. I
Huh.
mean, they know how to win friends and influence people better than anyone I know.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if you're there to learn about social skills, I mean, wow, these people are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just as good as a Tony Robbins, right? I mean, the way people talk about them, the way they're able to get people to buy into their whatever vision it is, like, I mean, that's a
Yeah,
valuable skill.
yeah, and like Tony Robbins is not like superhuman, right? I mean, he's just a normal guy that really, really focused a lot on personal development, right?
Yeah.
And he like mastered that craft. And he didn't invent it, but he brought a lot of it together, and he packaged it in a way that like people could digest it and really deliver it to a lot of people that needed it. So I again, it's like a lot of people can listen to someone like Tony Robbins and be like, yeah, he's okay, and then someone else will hear him and be like, he's life changing.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how much you apply and how good you are at breaking your old habits and forming new ones.
Yeah, I think Tony Robbins honestly has changed my life like a lot. I would say he's the guy that, like you said, for some reason, I don't know if he's just a really good storyteller. Like he's just able
He's
to,
one of the best storytellers. Are you kidding?
yeah. It just
But
resonates.
it's more than that. Like he has a way of really reaching into like people's like core and
Yeah.
spotting it like nobody's business. So
Hmm.
yeah, he's talented for sure.
Yeah, he's doing something right. Cause like I'm
And this is like what I mean. Like he has like a group. I forget what it's called. It's like a platinum group or something.
yeah.
I did that for like a while, and um, you know, and that's what I mean by investing in yourself, right? I mean, it's not cheap. It's like $50,000 or something, and
Yeah.
plus like the money for the trips and whatnot, and but you get to freaking go around with Tony Robbins and like other successful people. Like it's
Mhm.
great,
Yeah.
it's great if you have the money. Why not, right?
Yeah. What did you notice about like meeting these people that are different than normal people, would you say?
I mean, to start with, they are normal people, right? I mean, it's not like uh, they're not normal people. It's more that they've just um, this is the thing. Like I went into it thinking they're gonna be like these amazing people that like are super successful. But really they're just people with money. you know, um, some of them are better than others, right? Just like any person, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I think I went on the trip, and I realized that some people there are going to be like friends that I'll have for a long time. Some people there, are just like, you know, uh, not people that I drive with or whatever, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Um, there's a very, very big mix of people there, but again, like the quality of the people you encounter in situations like that is highly dependent on the filters that are put in place. If there's no filters
Yeah.
there, then anyone could join, right?
Right.
In this case, the only filter there was money. That was really it. Money and Tony Robbins. Like if you like Tony Robbins and you have money, you can join, right? Whereas like other groups, they're more selective. You have to have a certain level of experience, certain whatever it is. It's so depending on the filters that will dictate the type of people you'll meet. And so if I look at like a organization like that or a group like that or a coach or a mentor or anything like that, I'm thinking, what are the filters that they have up? And
Mm.
um, you know, who are the what exactly am I going to learn from this person, right? Like I feel like we live in a culture now where everyone is trying to get answers from other people, like coaches.
Mhm.
Um, but you have to be careful with coaches because a lot of coaches don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't have the experience, they don't have the wisdom. So it's just as bad getting bad advice from someone that doesn't have experience. Like some people, they claim to be like a personal coach and they've never done half the things that they're telling you to do. Like,
Mhm.
come on, like you can't take advice from someone like that.
Huh.
It's like teachers in school, right? You can't. Oh, hold on.
Aw. Aw. Hey. So adorable. Huh?
All right. Yeah. So I was just saying that who you listen to is very important, and being selective about who you listen to. Um, you know, like I'll give you an example. When I was running my business, I would talk to certain people that had, a good amount of experience working with other business owners and entrepreneurs, and I didn't listen to them. And the reason why is because, while they had tons of experience, they didn't really have experience with my type of business, with, I guess, companies at my stage. What they had was wisdom that was accumulated that was good for them in probably, so it doesn't mean that they were wrong about everything, but I couldn't count on them to help me make the right decisions for the most important decisions, right? Because they just have different worldviews, and their goals are different, right? And so no one's going to know how to make decisions on your life better than you. But what they can do is they can give you perspective, which I wish I listened to better. Because, I remember one of them was like a lawyer. He was like a partner in a law firm, super experienced. And he asked me, like, if somebody were to come and offer $100 million for your business, would you take it? And I said, no, absolutely not. Without even hesitation, right? And now I'm thinking, what the heck was I thinking? Like, really, with some perspective on it, I'm just like, yeah, I should have just taken it in a New York minute, right?
Right.
Because
Huh.
$100 million is a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think part of it was because I was more interested in growing the business and the team than I was in the money. I wasn't in it for the money. We made good money, but like it wasn't what was driving me. So it was pretty interesting. But now I look at it, I'm like, I could have done 10 businesses with $100 million.
Oh, like someone actually made you an offer?
We were just talking hypothetically because he could
Okay.
tell we were talking about equity, we were talking about shares and all kinds of
I
stuff,
see. Okay.
and compensation plans and all kinds of stuff. And so like, I mean, there were people that were investing, and we were talking about valuations, stuff like that, and even a valuation of $100 million. It was on the high side, but it wasn't like outrageous.
Wow. Man, yeah, I mean, you're giving a lot of good advice. It's what I take away so far is, well, we know what's best for us. Like, take everyone's advice with a grain of salt, because we might have different values than others. So it's like, truly be cognizant, like, hey, what do I care about? What do I want? Instead of like being so quick to just following the herd and following what well-intentioned, well-meaning people, but sometimes they don't necessarily know like what's actually going on, right?
Like, I'll give you a perfect example, right? Speaking to that point, so a lot of Gen Z people, they're just like, I don't want to work for the man, right? But like, especially now after post-COVID, they're like, I don't want to work in an office. I don't want to work a 9-to-5 job. I'd rather do my own thing, make my own money, figure it all out as an entrepreneur, right? And there's some people that are really wired for entrepreneurship, and there are some people that just aren't, right? Most people have absolutely no idea how much work running a business is. It is a crap ton of work. And in comparison, a 9-to-5 job is like a cakewalk.
Mm.
I mean, it depends on the job. Some 9-to-5 jobs are really tough. So but in general, I don't think 9-to-5 jobs are that bad for, your at least some period of time in your 20s, right? And the reason why is because you're building credible work experience. You are learning from on other people's time, right?
Mm.
So instead of you having to figure this stuff out on your own, paying for your own crap and paying for everything, paying for your mistakes, you could do it on somebody else's dime. You can basically have them train you, see how they're doing things, figure out what is going right and what's going wrong, and learn from it, right? It's like working at a job is one of the best ways to develop skills and experience. So why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
Yeah. I get that, because even now, like, even though I do some entrepreneurial stuff, like I love having the stability of a job. Like I love it. Like even my coworker asked me
Benefits are great,
yeah,
right?
benefits are amazing.
I mean, depending on the job, right? So some jobs kind of suck, right? In which case, yeah, go for it. Like do your own thing, right? If you're getting 10 to 15 bucks an hour, like that's not a job that is going to get you anywhere. Like you have to move out on your own. But like if you have like a career job, at a decent company that is developing you and has good benefits, learn from it, grow. Like do 2 years there, and then after 2 years, find another company, get promoted, get another 50% on your salary, and then do it again in another 2 years. And before you know it, you'll be like a director, and you'll have some real street cred and experience, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to spend 50 years there.
Right.
But once you have that kind of network and experience and skill set, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can go out as an entrepreneur, and then you'll be a lot more likely to be successful.
Mm. Yeah, I do think people who get into entrepreneurship too early, well,
Yeah.
some people, like you said, like just have it, but most people that get into it too early, they don't have the
They don't have the
business,
base foundation.
yeah, the business acumen to really like,
Yeah. And you need the business acumen, right?
yeah.
Like you need to know how to interact with companies, with managers, with leaders, with manage up and manage down, and deal with office politics. How can you run a business if you've never had to deal with office politics? You don't know what's in store for you.
Yeah, that I think that's the toughest thing for me, like the office politics. But now I'm starting to get it, right? Like I didn't understand that, and it was like hard for me, and now I'm starting to get it. So it's not as
And
big.
especially like being a leader, right? Running a business essentially means being a leader.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to have the skills to be a leader if you've never done it before? That's like, a recipe for disaster.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like you've learned a lot, and they always say, "Are you in that stage now where you're just giving back and like you're like helping and others?" And because I feel like that's what people eventually do, like when they reach a certain point.
I'm one of those people that's a perpetual learner, right? I'll probably learn till I'm like 100. Like I told you, I just took the CISSP and nobody told me to do it. I just did it. Like I literally just took a week off and did it, you know? So, I plan on, doing all kinds of other learning, you know, uh, probably some work in data science. Like I, I'm driven by, like, my whole life I've spent developing my skill set, right? So like I have a highly technical skill set, but at the same time, because of my years of experience, like I have this balance of business problem solving and understanding, problem. Like I could never have done it when I was younger, but now if I see a problem, I can actually build solutions for it. So it's a very exciting time for me, right? Because not only can I build it, but I can manage the team to build it, and I can do it probably faster than most. And
Yeah.
so everything that drives me now is what skill set can I develop tomorrow to complement my ability to execute. So, because computers are amazing, right? I mean, we're in an age of machine learning, AI. They're incredibly powerful, and they're only getting more powerful every year.
Yeah.
I mean, what is technology going to look like 10 years from now? It's going to be absolutely mind-blowing, right? And the people that can do stuff with it, the people that have mastery of it, they're the people that's going to rule the world. So.
Yeah, but I like what you said, because it's like, yes, you have the technical skills, but you also have the business acumen as well. I think the marriage of both is powerful, but I think you need to have both. You can't have like just one, right?
You really do. Or team up with someone that can fill in some of those gaps, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to have everything, but you have to be able to at least know where you fall short and find the right people to compensate and work with. But you have to be able to have good long-term relationships with those kind of people. And a lot of tech people suck at that.
Long term.
Yeah, they're terrible with social skills.
Huh. Yeah, yeah. I guess the people that have both are the ones that end up being very, very successful, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a handful that are good at both. And success is varied, right? Like you could be like completely not like very introverted or whatever and still make a ton of money as a developer, right? So I guess for me success is defined by more than money. It's defined by happiness. And happiness has very little to do with money, ironically enough.
Yeah, it does seem like if you are happy just being yourself, you're comfortable in your own skin, and you have good relationships, and then you're always constantly learning. Like I feel like the marriage of those, I feel like naturally brings you a lot of happiness, right?
I mean, everyone has different, I guess, formulas for what makes them happy. I think for a lot of people, people don't even ask the question until they're in their 50s, because they're so busy trying to just get the next job or buy the next house or get the fancy car or get the next kid or whatever it is. Their focus is on getting to the next level. And happiness is something that has very little to do with the future, and it has everything to do with the present. It's about being present in that exact moment that you're in, and being able to let all of the negativity and everything else go so that you can just be. So,
have you done a Vipassana? This sounds like very like Vipassana like.
It's one of those things that I just naturally did because I've had a lot of terrible stuff happen in my life. So my only way of coping with it was to not think about it. And yeah, so I just got really good at not thinking about it, and to the point where it's like a superpower. If bad shit happens, I'm like, okay, it happened, move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to it, right? Like I was listening to the Rich Roll podcast where he was interviewing like an ultra marathoner who does like 200, like one of the most successful ultra marathoners who does like 200-mile plus races.
Yeah.
and she was just so positive, like like everything he said, she was just like, yeah, I just try to have fun and laugh, and like, and it's like people were kind of like, well, how could you be laughing when you just did 200 miles and your body's breaking down, and like, you're like
Yeah.
about to go to the hospital. It's just like, yeah, like I feel privileged that I even can spend my free time just running a 24-hour race, and then,
Yeah. It's about
most,
gratitude, right? I mean,
yeah.
but the thing is, it's really easy to fall into this trap of false positivity, right?
Hmm.
It's not about that. It's not about like just being this bubbly, happy, like go lucky guy or girl. It's I think recognizing that every moment of every day is a gift, right? And so you don't know how long you have.
Hmm.
And I learned that lesson early on because my parents died when I was young.
Oh.
Um, so I kind of experienced it firsthand. I was like, you know what? I could die tomorrow.
Hmm.
So I got hit by a car, and I was like, that could have been it. If he hit me a little harder, you know, it was like a rainy day, and I was just walking across the street. The car just slammed into me from behind, and thank God I was wearing a big heavy coat, and like I had like this backpack full of like paper to like take the brunt of it. Um,
Hmm.
but like, yeah, I could have died, and
Wow.
so anyone that can happen to anyone, because like literally out of the blue, you could have a heart attack, you can get COVID, you can, a million things can happen. And so when you sort of think about life as that way, you don't plan as much for stuff that happens 50 years from now,
Hmm.
like I plan for it, but I don't assume I'm going to be 80 or make it to 100 or whatever. Like some people, they're like, oh, you still got a lot of time. And I'm like, I'm getting old.
Hmm. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. That's really profound. I think it's easy conceptually to think, oh, it's all about the present, but sometimes we forget, and we're thinking about the next promotion, the next job, the next, when am I going to get married or have a child? And that's a really simple but a meaningful reminder. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I think you probably have to head out now, right?
I got a couple minutes. So, but
Okay.
it's up to you.
Yeah, I do have. I mean, I feel like I can ask you questions for hours, but maybe I'll think of like three more questions that I would like, because clearly you have so much wisdom. Um, like, what are your thoughts on folks that are like almost like they're they make their worth about like their family and external factors, like, oh, my value in life is like my title or getting that next round
Right.
of funding or selling my company, and if I don't become publicly traded, then I'm a failure, stuff like that.
Right. I see that a lot, especially with men. And, what I have to say to that is um, the person that should love you the most is yourself, because if you can't love yourself, no one will love you.
Hmm.
It's the most critical voice that anybody has is almost always going to be yourself.
Yeah.
And so, um, you know, you have to treat like the way that you think about yourself as almost like a relationship with yourself, right?
Hmm.
And so I never allow myself to beat myself up. I just never do. You know, if I screw up, I screwed up, but I don't see it as a character flaw, right? I don't see it as like, I see it as something that I need to fix and move on, right? But
Huh.
um, I do. I see so many people that, um, especially young people, because I had very low self-esteem when I was a kid, right? Because no one ever gave me love, right? Like
Hmm.
all I did was I felt rejected over and over again from like anyone that was supposed to love me, and so I just got used to it. And it took a long time for me to, like I probably spent like almost a decade just trying to be a better person so I could be more lovable. Like I felt unlovable at the time, like literally, like no one would love me. And so like I made myself, I read all kinds of books on social skills. I read all kinds of books on whatever, like anything I could to improve myself in that area. And I remember there was this one day when I woke up and I said, you know what? The problem isn't me. I'm a really good person. Like I'm a great person. And it was like a light switch flipped in me, and I said, you know what? Like the people that I'm with just doesn't see it. But I know that like what drives me, I'm a good person. And once I sort of could see that clearly for myself for the first time, it was like I just stopped trying to please other people.
Wow, that's good stuff, man. Oh, so much love. Wow, so much gold. I definitely want to have you back for round two because I feel like this is like so, man, I feel like a lot of people have these conversations or think about these things, but not a lot of people actually like put it into action. So I feel like there's a lot of actionable tips that you gave for just how to live a more fulfilled and a life of gratitude,
Well, I'm glad. I hope it helps someone.
I think so. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. If someone wanted to reach out to you, can I give them your contact information or?
Let me see what the best way to do that is. I'll give you some contact info that you can use.
Okay, cool. Because I'm sure people are gonna want to like at least ask you some questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally open to talking with anyone. If they have any questions or whatever, I understand.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Paul. This has been really insightful, and yeah, really appreciate you. I'll let Kim know that we connected, and I'm sure she'll listen to this episode as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, take care. I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Bye.